Hey, this is The Process. My name is Dr. John Bush. Week 5 Sunday game scripts, uncertainty rankings, defense against position, and a little insight from Vegas. And we will continue trying to hopefully uh, get games that are much better than the Thursday night. And to begin with, I won't have time to go over every game, but I'm going to concentrate on the predicted high scoring games, and then you can see how I do this and can continue to develop your process yourself. This is not for you to follow blindly what I'm saying. This is you to observe how I do things and figure out what works for you with your diary that you should see the lesson on there. Anyway, I'm going to have some figures associated with the games, my Vegas information, trying to figure out if the game is predicted to be high scoring, which usually is good for PPR, or low scoring, which is usually more defensive and not as so good for PPR scoring. So that can kind of lead you one direction or the other, kind of frames the overall game picture there for you if you're making some close decisions. I also include defense against the position. I have a table, and we look at the DAPs, I call them, defense against position, and we will compare each team versus their opponent, seeing what the opponent overall, the defense looks like, and then focus on the different positions, running backs, quarterbacks, etc. You can follow through that. Then finally, I'm going to give you my rankings table for this week. Player, team, position, my rankings, fantasy sports, professor rankings, FSPR, and the uncertainty level that I'm placing the player into. And the rankings go from 100 best to 0 worst. So 50% is thought to be near average. So you can kind of gauge the overall feeling that I'm having on this player. And then whether they're in the high uncertainty, average, or low uncertainty bucket. High uncertainty players should have an extensive range of outcomes. Could be higher than I think, but could be lower. So it's more of a interesting situation, and your certainty levels can drive some tie breaking there. Certainly, low uncertainty players that are highly ranked would be better than high uncertainty players, lowly ranked, right? So you've got kind of the outcome range there. So you're looking for the best of the best, low uncertainty, high ranked players. You can see how that all works in compared to the Vegas concepts and the DAPs. And before I jump directly to the games, I do like to have overall week 5 power rankings, just by way of kind of boosting certain teams or kind of lowering some thresholds of teams that I have this week. Philadelphia, the Rams, Buffalo, Cincinnati, Tampa Bay, surprisingly, and Minnesota seem to be on the upper end of this week's power rankings. Indianapolis, Houston, Detroit, Chicago, Carolina, and the Giants. The one that scares me is Detroit. I am playing golf in a lot of situations. He's, turned it in pretty good, but at some point, you know, the balloon's got to bust. But when do you jump off the train? This could be week that I go over the edge here, but if you don't have any other situations, just be aware there's some uncertainty about that whole Detroit situation there. And so you can look at my power rankings, and then I give you a visual, just kind of you can see the amounts, the intensity compared from one team to the other, in case that helps you break some ties. And I think it's important to look at the uncertainty levels. If you look across all the team players I ranked on that team and figured out how many are high or average uncertain players versus low, and kind of make a ratio I call the high, average slash low metric. Okay, the ha slash L metric capture at least an aspect of that. And this week, Denver, Carolina, Philadelphia, and Chicago figured to be highly uncertain as teams, whereas Cincinnati, the Chargers, Jets, New England, Buffalo seem to be lower in uncertainty. So that frames, you can frame the power rankings and the uncertainty here. And notice right away, before you can get into the games, we've got some conflicting data and multiple ways to look at things. And that's the part of the lesson and part of the process. It's not straightforward, regardless of what you might be led to believe when some of these major sites just give a list. Here's player five, here's player six, go home. Uh, I don't see it that way. There is a lot of things to consider. This is a systems approach where we have multiple streams of data coming in, and it's just not clear cut, regardless of what it might appear. I understand if you're looking for simple answers, then you'll gravitate towards, the snake oil salesman out there. But in reality, I found fantasy to be complex and a broad system that can change on a dime. One injury, right before the game starts, or the weather change, or something that we're not anticipating can happen, and that can change the whole reflection, right? Look at Indianapolis Thursday. Nakeem Hines, first thing out of the box, he's got a concussion and out. That changed the whole game plan, and that just changed the whole probably uh, journey of that game. Uh, and you couldn't have predicted that. So consider that. Here's the uncertainty levels. You can kind of see what I'm seeing there. Kind of weigh what's tricky and what's not. So I will spend some time. I don't want to bore you with an hour of me droning on. So part of this is you learn to figure the ins and outs here. But here are the high scoring games: Tampa Bay, Falcons, Eagles, Cardinals, Chiefs, Raiders, and figured to be 49 points roughly or higher. So that usually means goodness and good times for players. I do note, though, that sometimes these high scoring games can feature kind of a blowout situation. And under those conditions, players can be pulled in the fourth quarter, or garbage time can happen with the game plans of the teams far behind. They can, leave their running backs in the dust and just start having to pass, and taking gambles with onside kicks and punting and fourth down, and it really can spiral out of control there. And it's not something we can anticipate. What I will say is the Buccaneers, Falcons, Chiefs, Raiders are predicted to be fairly biased towards the favorites there. So be prepared for some surprises there. I think the Eagles, Cardinals may be closer than people think there. But anyway, just kind of in your head, especially if you're comparing multiple players to put in a flex or something, it can get kind of tricky there. Uh, so just, it's never clear cut. It's never, okay, I figured it out, you know, set my lineup Thursday night and I don't have to worry about it. Yeah, I'm worried all the time. And I constantly tweaking and thinking, and some people might say overthinking. One goes through a process and sees what's going on. I think if you've seen my diary lesson, now that I think about it, maybe you should put down in your diary each week how many times did you make changes in your lineups. And if you start seeing a pattern, especially if you're like me and play 50 leagues and you're setting lineups 50 times a week and you're doing that multiple times, look at the situations where you didn't really have to set the lineup more than one or twice versus the ones you kept flipping around. How'd you do? Okay, maybe that's telling you something. Oh no, you might find some interesting information there. Okay, that's the kind of stuff that's just not going to be out there in the cookie cutter uh, big name places, and that's fine. By the way, thanks to few of you are listening. Yay, that's me. Yay. So I hope I'm trying to help here. So these next aspects here are my DAPS. Here's Atlanta. I'm playing an away game here. It's the segment's first half of the season. The away game and their opponent is tough, Tampa Bay tough. And if you look all the way across, other than the tight end and Pitts is gone, so I don't know who might take his place, but I'm not looking forward at this point on using those. I'm moving elsewhere, but I do lament that this seemed a really nice spot for Pitts, but he's out. Not sure who I would play here. I guess Drake London, maybe. I don't know. This is not something that fills me with great confidence here. They're favored to lose big, and it's a tough situation. Vegas sees that as well. Tampa Bay, on the other hand, it's all hands on deck. Play everybody once, twice, and their Cameron Brate's out, but you might play the tight end behind him. I think there's a rookie there or something. You might check that out. If Godwin's back, I think he's a play. Evans, of course. Uh, Got to play Fournette, even though it's a little bit tougher this week. So you can see right away that the system is pointing to playing a lot more Tampa Bay maybe than usual. Arizona, Philadelphia. Arizona running into the tough Philadelphia. Look at that. The opponent OPP there, that's red. That's danger. And all the way across is tough. The only less tough is Zach Ertz might be worth a tricky play, but everybody else seems to be rough and tough. So they're going to have to earn, and this could get really crazy here for Connor if they have to pass and pass and pass. But you could collect some garbage time. So maybe you might want to play some wide receivers with Zach Ertz a lot. Philadelphia figures pretty much an easy situation. Goddard looks good. Miles Sanders looks good. Hurts looks good. The wide receivers, though, Devonta Smith and all, is going to have to work a little harder this week. So, if you've got somebody better than him, just be aware. It's a little bit tough. And so right away, when you're setting your lineup in Philadelphia, you should pay extra attention to the wide receivers, that kind of thing. See, it's leaning you, the data is pushing you for that extra deeper thinking here. It doesn't say, oh, automatically flip one way or the other. It just says, take a look a little bit. little bit deeper. In your diary, make note of that. Philadelphia had a tough thing this week. I don't have time for a diary. I'll figure it out. Well, then you must not want to really improve. So don't be surprised that you don't improve. Kansas City and the Raiders. Kansas City, fairly good situation. Solaire's going to have a little tough time, but it's not impossible. It's just a little tough. But the rest of them, it's play them all hands on deck. Even old Juju, you might even play him this week. Certainly Kelsey all day, Mahomes all day long. The Raiders could surprise people. Vegas thinks they're not going to do as well, but they could. Carr could surprise. Look at the landscape says play them all day and night on everything. Jacobs, Renfro if he plays, of course Adams, Carr, the tight end Waller. So it could be more of a shootout than people think actually. So that could be a really entertaining Monday game. So take a look. So Tampa Bay, uh, I think Brait is out, and I believe Caden Otten is the one that I said you might give a little extra look. I figure Fournette at 90, you probably got to play him anyway. Evans is interesting. Godwin's coming back, but at 70, so a flex wide receiver two low type. Gage, I'm not playing Gage. Atlanta, Pitts is out. I'm not playing Hess or Frisker, so that's a pass for me. London's about the only play I want. Uh, Algar, maybe if you're desperate. Philadelphia, you want a Sanders, you want Goddard, you want Brown, and Smith. Think about him a little bit. Brown probably, but Smith, if you got somebody else, he's at 62. I'm looking for somebody higher. Arizona could get really tough for Connor. He's RB2 this week ish, and he's got some hills to climb. Ertz is the only one that I feel pretty good about. I'm definitely going to play him some way. Notice the high uncertainty here. The passers looks lean here. I know Brown, you drafting probably got to play him, but just be aware. 75. That's a WR2 ish. Okay, so just don't be surprised if he doesn't give you what you want. Kansas City, Mahomes, Solaire's a little issue. Just be cautious. Kelsey all day long and roll the dice with Schuster. Of course, it could be an MVS week as well. So, I'm sure I got some better choices, but if I don't for a flex, right, a WR3 type, then Juju could fit the bill. Raiders, you want to play Jacobs, definitely Waller, even though he's high uncertainty, and Adams. And if Renfro plays, maybe Hollins is the better play over Renfro since he's been out. Renfro may be a little lower ranked, and that's just because I wasn't even sure he's going to play. So anyway, that sets the table, and here's the average score. And you can go to the scienceoffantasyfootball.com and see the whole article, and you can find the rest of the stuff here. You can get deep into this. It's 18 minutes. That's about all you need to hear. You can go earn the rest of it. Hit that diary. Think about all the different possibilities here. This is a system. Okay, I wish you good luck. Thank you, the few that are listening to me. Yay. Hope this helps you out. Okay, we're having fun. Week 5, crush it.